Hi, welcome back to Believer Science Academy, Bengaluru. In this session, we will be continuing the discussion on NCERT Class 6 Polity topics. So today, we will be dealing with chapter number 3, that is, what is government? In chapter 1, we discussed diversity and unity in diversity. Okay, how within diversity there is unity and how unity results in diversity. And in chapter 2, we discussed about negative connotation of diversity, that is how diversity leads to discrimination. When there is diversity, there arises prejudices. Prejudices are a result of stereotype, and these stereotypes lead to prejudices, and these prejudices lead to discrimination. Okay, this is what we discussed yesterday, and today's class we will be discussing about what is government. We will first understand the history of government, what we will understand types of government, and we will understand what is like universal ordered suffrage, and we will understand different types of different types of government and different types of democracies. So first and foremost, what is government? The NCERT definition is government is the organization that is the governing authority of a political unit or the ruling power in political society, and the apparatus through which a governing body functions and exercises the authority. There are three main things you have to look into here. What is government? It is an organization. Okay, it is an organization that is governing a political unit. Okay, governing authority of a political unit. And second is, it is the ruling power. Okay, ruling power in a political society. And it is also a apparatus through which governing body does its functions. Okay, this is the NCERT meaning, and other meanings from different sources says that government is a group of people. Okay, government is a group of people or entity which is responsible for managing or governing a state, managing or governing an organization, or managing or governing a political unit. This political unit, this organization, this state can differ from one part of the world to another part of the world. Okay, so before the origination of this government, human beings existed before there was government. Okay, how they existed? Majorly they existed in the form of bands. Okay, they exist in the form of band, and they used to run around as a nomadic tribes. Okay, nomadic tribes, and there was no need of governments. Okay, what is the role of government? Government is governing a political unit, and there was no political unit, there was no state, it was stateless. Okay, whatever the disputes, whatever the things they were arising, they used to deal within themselves. Okay, so there was no necessity or need for government. But over the period of time, government developed. Okay, during 5000 years ago, the governance developed and took a more rigid form. Okay, because the reasons or factors behind the formation of government is growth of agriculture. Previous to this, in the Neolithic period, before Neolithic period, people used to roam around as a nomadic tribes. There was no sedentary agriculture, and there was no sedentary lifestyle, and there was no settlements. But around Neolithic period, around 10,000 to 50,000 years ago, human beings changed. Instead of being a nomadic tribes, instead of being hunter and gatherers, they started to settle at a place. And after settlement, they started doing agriculture. So now their lifestyle became sedentary, and then it also resulted population growth. It was also a result of population growth. Due to population growth, there was disputes arising between each members. Okay, between members of different community, and to resolve this dispute, there was a need for a form of organization, and there was a need for defense. Defense of what? Defense of agriculture produce, defense of cattle, defense of family members, defense of tribes from other tribes. So because of all these things, there is a need for an organization, and that organization is government. Okay, so first government in the world emerged around 5000 years ago, and that was in Sumer. which is ancient civilization in present day Iraq around 4500 BC, and it was followed by Egyptian civilization around 4000 years ago. Okay, and then during the similar time period there was Indus Valley civilization in present day India, and there was Chinese civilization in Yellow River in China. Okay, these are the earliest form of government. The form of government followed us different, but they all followed a government. And in India, this kept on changing from Indus Valley civilization to Vedic, early Vedic and post-Vedic, and then followed by post-Mauryan, pre-Mauryan, and Mauryan, post-Mauryan, etc., etc. During each time period, the government and the form of government kept on changing. Now that we understood what is government, now we will understand what is form of government. How many forms of government are there? Okay, and what are the levels of government? So India is a representative democracy, and in India there are 3 levels of government. There are 3 levels. At the top there is center or union. This is at the national level. Okay, at the state level there is state government, and at the local level there is municipality and panchayats. Okay, the levels of government is not rigid. Okay, it keeps on changing from one country to another country. For example, say UK, there are 2 levels of government. One is center and another is local. There is no state level governance there. Okay, and again within different countries, certain countries there is only central government. For example, Switzerland. Okay, in Switzerland there is central government and there is state government called as cantons, but the relation varies. And in Vatican City, which is a very small nation, there is only central government that is run by church. Okay, which is headed by Pope. So the levels of government differ from one area or one region to other region. Okay, it differs from one region to other regions. Now, at the national level, it refers to the area of governance. Which is concerned with the national issues such as taxation, defense, international relations and trade, etc. And state level, each of the state governments has its own police force, education system and road laws. Okay, any issues which are of the regional level, they are given to the state. And local level, any issues which are of very local level and very basic level, they are given to the local bodies such as municipality and panchayat. Okay, and then we'll understand what is law and government. Okay, laws are rules of conduct established and enforced by an authority. Okay, law is a, so initially according to political administration, okay, there is a great political scientist called as Hobel. According to him, law is an institution that, okay, that stops behavior, that stops actions which are against the accepted norms. Okay, which are against the accepted norms. Okay, so this institution can be enforced by various authorities such as police, judiciary, etc., etc. Okay, law is an institution which checks the deviant behavior. It makes sure that the social accepted behavior is maintained and any behavior which is against the social accepted behavior is condoned. Okay, and in simpler terms, law is a rule of conduct which is established by the government and it is enforced by an authority. Legislation or a custom of a given community, state, nation is called as law. Okay, the law differs from different communities. It is both responsibility of the government and the citizens to uphold the integrity of laws. Okay, the law is, in a simple word, it is a rule of conduct. Okay, everyone should follow. It is enforced by the government of different kinds and it is enforced through laws, customs, traditions, etc., etc. in countries or in states which follow or have a deep faith in religion, they follow traditions which are important from the particular religion. Okay, in countries such as India, we follow laws established by the constitution through government. Okay, and then the types of government. The types of government can be classified into several types, some of which are democracy and monarchy. Democracy, monarchy, like oligarchy, etc., etc., so type of government. So first we'll understand what is democracy. Okay, democracy, like in the history of governance, earliest form of governance was monarchy. Okay, what is monarchy? Monarchy refers to a rule by a king or queen. There is a definite head at the definite head at the top. He can either be elected or he can either be chosen by people, or he is neither elected nor chosen. It can be hereditary. He is also called as emperor. It is a government with the hereditary head of the state. It can be classified into two types, that is absolute and constitutional monarchy. Absolute, there are no laws which are binding the king. No laws they are binding the king. King is absolute. He can use any of the powers required for him. Another is constitutional monarchy. In constitutional monarchy, there is a constitution which checks the deviant behavior. There is a constitution which dictates the behavior of king. Okay, for example, for constitutional constitutional monarchy, we can use the example UK, or you can use the example of Bhutan. Okay, for absolute monarchy, at present there are no such absolute monarchy, but closest to absolute monarchy is Saudi Arabia, but even then there is a constitution in Saudi Arabia. Okay, then moving to democracy. What is democracy? So simpler words, in the words of great Abraham Lincoln. Okay, not John Abraham Lincoln. Democracy is the government by the people, for the people, and of the people. It is the simplest definition of democracy. But democracy in its literal form is called as, derived from Greek word called as demos and kratos, which means rule of the people. Demos plus kratos of Greek language, meaning rule by a rule of the people. Okay, rule of the people. And it is a form of government run by the elected representative who hold the decision making power. Okay, as I said, government is a group of people who govern a country. If those group of people are elected by the people residing in the country, then it is called as democracy. Okay, within democracy there are two types, that is direct democracy and indirect democracy. Okay, what is direct democracy and indirect democracy? Direct democracy, okay, there is a government, there is a head. For example, this head is the prime minister. If this prime minister is directly elected by the people, if there is an election for prime minister and if these people directly elect the prime minister, it is called as direct election or a direct democracy. And if this prime minister is elected by people or representatives who themselves are elected by citizens, then it is called as indirect democracy. Okay, citizens elected representatives, those representatives elect head, that is prime minister. This is called as indirect democracy. The best example for indirect democracy is India. Okay, we don't choose prime minister by ourselves. We choose MP and MLAs. We choose MPs, and those MPs, if they belong to a particular party, if the MPs belong to a particular party, and if the party gains popularity, majority, and then that party's head becomes prime minister. Okay, for best example of direct democracy, is Switzerland. In Switzerland, head of the state they are elected by the people. Okay, hope this is clear. There are two types of democracy. Okay, so democracy again is a government in which the people of the country choose their leaders to rule is called as democracy. The elected government is answerable to its people because they are the ones who have been elected by people. Okay, so democracy, the basic idea behind democracy is that an individual, irrespective of the factors of his birth, okay, is capable of governing himself and is capable of choosing people who should govern him and how he should be governed. Okay, meaning that he has the capacity to govern himself and he has the capacity to choose who should govern them. That is what happens in democracy. Democracy, you are going to choose. How you are going to choose? You are going to choose the person who is going to govern you through voting. Okay, that is the basic idea behind democracy. Fine. And monarchy is run by a king or queen on a hereditary basis where the people do not get their say in decision making are called democracy. Sorry, monarchy. King or queen is said to be the monarch. All the decisions are taken by monarch and anyone who is supporting the monarch. Okay, there can be anyone supporting aristocracy and there can be no aristocracy or there can be no bureaucracy. All the decisions can be taken directly by the king. Okay, so then after this we will understand what is representative democracy. A representative democracy is a type of democracy in which citizens delegate authority to their elected representatives, which is present in India. As I told you, they first elect or delegate a representative. This representative goes and chooses the final representative, final head of the state. And what is franchise? Okay, franchise is nothing but it is a privilege or right which is given to individuals. The right to vote or the privilege to vote given to individuals is called as franchise. It is a right, privilege or right officially granted to the persons or a group by the government, especially by the constitutional or statutory right to vote. Okay, so franchise is all the members belonging to a group having right to vote. If they have the right to vote, all the group is called as franchise. Okay, for an election, what is election? It is a process of choosing who should govern you. Okay, it is a process of choosing who should be the government. Okay, the process of choosing is the elections, and who are going to choose? Okay, those who are going to choose are belonging to franchise. This franchise goes on changing. Okay, in India, franchise is based on universal adult franchise, meaning any individuals who is above the age of 18 has the right to vote. Okay, under certain conditions. That is, he should not be convicted arrest, he should not be arrested by the government, or he should not be like of unsound mind, etc., etc. Those conditions, barring those conditions, every individual who is above the age of age, both male, female, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and anyone belonging to any caste has the right to vote. So it is universal adult franchise. But the franchise differs from different country and different time period. For example, before 18th century, universal or franchise, okay, franchise meaning those who has the right to vote did not include women. Okay, did not include women because they considered women to be the second grade citizens. In those times, they were considered as the second grade citizens and they were considered as they are incapable of governing themselves. They are considered as incapable of selecting, incapable of governing themselves. That is why the voting powers were not given to women during those times. But in the 18th century to 20th century, due to many feminist movements which were led by prominent leaders like Virginia Woolf, Simone de Beauvoir, because of these fights and their efforts, Now presently most of the countries have universal adult franchise, which also includes women. Okay, if there is discrimination based on like gender, there are franchises which also discrimination based on races. For example, in South Africa, there was a system called as apartheid. Okay, in apartheid, there in South Africa mainly there are two communities, that is white South Africans and black South Africans. These black South Africans were the natives to South Africa, and whites were the ones who fled from, like, who conquered South Africa, and they belonged to Europe. And in South Africa, under apartheid system, only white South Africans had the right to vote. Okay, so the franchise here was only the white people. Okay, but later it changed in 1980s. Even blacks were included to vote, even the blacks were allowed to vote, but the voting rate, I mean a value of the vote, if the vote of one like weight of a white South African was 1, then the value of black South African was 0.33, meaning 3 votes of a black equals 1 vote. That is what they considered as a franchise system. But over the period, because of Nelson Mandela and other leaders, in 1994, for the first time, representative democracy started in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela was elected as a people's prime minister. During that time, franchise was converted into universal adult franchise. Okay, so this is about franchise. Or do you hope you understood what is franchise? Okay, and then women's suffrage. Women's suffrage, what I explained already, it was a movement started in early 20th century, vigorously for many years, demanding the equality with men and the right to vote. Initially, the women were not provided with any right to vote. Now, because of the like efforts of important feminist leaders such as Virginia Woolf, Simone de Beauvoir, now they have the right to vote also. Okay, why do you need government? What is the need of government? Each country needs government to make important decisions and function well. The decision may be economic, education, social. Okay, economic in the sense industrial development, exports, imports, all those important decisions. Education in itself, what kind of education should be performed or pursued, whether it is science based, whether it is religious based, etc., etc. And in social structure is defined by the government. Okay, what kind of society should be followed, okay, what kind of discrimination should be abolished, those kind of decisions are taken by government. And government also represents the people at the international forum, takes care of international boundaries and relations with other countries. It kind of protects individuals belong to a particular country from outside influences. It is responsible for transport facilities and health facilities of citizens. All those activities which are involved in welfare of the people are done by government. The government works at different levels, like local level, state level, already discussed. So government makes laws for your citizens and is supposed to follow them, and laws need to be enforced for the proper function of the government. If there is no laws, it will lead to anarchy. Okay, so in order to avoid anarchy, there should be laws. Citizens can also take up help of law, that is not necessary. And then different type of governments are democracy, like monarchy, etc., etc. The basic idea of democracy is that people rule themselves by taking part in lawmaking. Okay, better known as representative democracy. We already discussed what is government. We already discussed instances in history where government did not allow women, poor people, and uneducated to vote. But when India got independence, universal adult franchise was put forward. Okay, within India, during British period, during British time, franchise included only white British, okay, whites, and some people belonging to certain communities. Okay, some people belong to certain communities, certain higher communities who were in favor of Britishers. This franchise was changed after the independence, and India adopted universal adult franchise. And elections, it is a process where the citizens of a democratic country cast their votes for the leaders of their choice, is called as elections. The elected leaders form a government later. Okay, so universal adult franchise, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, literacy, occupation, etc., have the right to vote and to take part in elections, is the universal adult franchise. Okay, this is about government. So we will discuss history of government, we will discuss type of government, discuss levels of government, and we discuss franchise as well as what is universal ordered franchise and what is the need of universal ordered franchise. Okay, so this is about chapter 3 of class 8, class 6 of NCERT. If you have any doubts regarding this class, please do write in the comment box. If you want any other discussions on the YouTube channel, do write in the comment box also. If you like the video, please like, comment and share with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.